This is Nick at Equalizer Systems again, and today we'd like to show you the installation of our EQ Smart Level system for a Class C motorhome. If you'll take a walk with me under the coach, we'll get right into some of the components. So we're going to start with the front jacks. On a typical Class C installation, the first step to this would be welding the mounting brackets to the chassis, whether it's the fronts or the rears. Now this unit happens to be a Jayco Red Hawk, and every one of these units, whether it came with a factory leveling system or not, is prepped with mounting brackets for both the jacks and the pump. So you'll see those already on the coach. So the location is critical. For the front legs, we want to put the mounting brackets as close to the front suspension mounts as we possibly can, and this height is correct. Now if you'll notice the mounting height of the jack on the bracket, this gives us the correct ground clearance below the leg. This is a 13-inch stroke cylinder, and we're looking for 7 to 8 inches of ground clearance when the jacks are retracted. This location of the bottom bolt hole in the second slot in this particular bracket gives us that height. You'll also notice that this coach, the owner opted to go with the optional snap pads, so if your dealer is selling those, you can get those from them as well. The front jacks, you'll notice we've got 3 different hydraulic lines attached to this. I don't know if you can see that on this side or not. The top port is always the extend side of the jack. The bottom is the retract. Now on this particular system, we use a crossover retract feature on that, which basically means we're pulling the retract side of the jack from one jack to the other and then back to the pump. So that's why you'll see 2 retract hoses on this jack and only one on the other side. All steel jack, again 13-inch stroke, 7,500 pound lift capacity on all 4 of our jack legs on this particular coach. And again, if you're having to mount the front jack brackets on this, close proximity to the front suspension hanging is critical. So we'll move back to the pump. And again, as we stated, on this particular model, the Red Hawk comes with this pump mount bracket already attached. If you are working on any other Class C where you have to actually install these brackets yourself, centrally located along the frame rail, in between the rails, is a great place to mount this pump. But obviously you have to work with what you have room for. This one already had the bracket on it, so this is where the pump goes. On the Red Hawk, you do have to drill 1 additional hole in the bottom of this bracket to make room for our pump mounting studs. But aside from that, this is where you're going to mount it. As you can see on this pump, we've got our manual override easily accessed on the sides of the coils and the end of the motor. If you'll go to our installation operation manual, there's all the instructions about how to run our manual override. Hoses are mounted to the top of the manifold, so obviously you're going to want to make those connections before you mount the pump to the bracket. But if you're familiar with our system, you know we've got a very easy to use color-coded diagram on the manifold, which also matches our colored labels on the hoses. So hose routing is simple on this pump and any other pump from Equalizer. From here, we will move to the rear jacks. Again, 13-inch stroke, 7,500 pound jack leg, and you'll notice again, the rear jack brackets are mounted behind the axle, but as close to the spring hanger as we can get them. This one again came from the factory with the brackets already attached, but if you have to do the job yourself of welding on those brackets, this is what you're looking for, close proximity to the rear spring hanger on the coach. Again, you'll see the snap pad here option. This particular bracket only has 4 mounting bolts already pre-welded to it. This is the correct mounting height for these rear jacks to get that 7 to 8 inches of ground clearance and also keep you within that deflection angle. Again, you'll see 2 retract lines on this side of the rear jack and only 1 to the other. Again, we're using a crossover retract, which simplifies hose routing. So we're chaining from one jack to the other on the retract and then back to the pump. Each jack always has its own extend hose though. So that's how that is all set up. It's pretty simple and pretty well laid out in our installation manual as well. That's about it for what's underneath the coach. Next we will move to the control panel that's mounted inside the coach, just inside the step well. So now we've moved inside the coach to where we've got the control panel located. This particular unit has a great spot right inside the entry door towards the front of the coach where the rest of the control switches are at for the unit. So once you've installed this control panel, the first thing you're going to notice is that there's only one wire harness needed to connect this control panel to the pump, as the panel is also doubling as the level sensor in the EQ Smart Level system. Installation on our system is quite simple. Once you have determined your mounting location, the first thing you need to do is set the orientation. As this control panel can be mounted anywhere in the coach and even at an angle, it just needs to know where it is in the unit. After you've got the orientation set, the next step is to set the null. Instructions on all of that are listed in our installation operation guide, and if you prefer a walkthrough video, those are also available on our YouTube page. As you can see, the control panel is very simple to operate with easy to read controls regarding auto level, all retract, and manual adjustments. There is also the EQ Smart Level app available for your smartphone or tablet, so you can actually run your leveling system from anywhere that you've got Bluetooth range for your device.